Welcome everyone. So, as you're seeing right here, you might be wondering, what am I doing facing a +4 Quagsire, sorry, ×4 Quagsire at ×2 speed? And what on earth is this replay? Well, I just figured that I'd like to share my take on the GSC UU tournament that I ended up winning. So I think I finally made up my mind on covering the matches, and I'm going to break it up into parts. So this is going to be the round 1 episode where I commentate on my team and the games that I had with Siatom. So it was a best of 3, which means I had to win the other 2 games. Now we'll have a look at it right away. So before I do that though, I am going to show you the first team. So, first team, which you can see here, hopefully. No, it's a little bit, it's not cropped very well. I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm not sure why it's like that. There we go. And we're going to zoom in a little bit there, so it's more visible. So team 1, still cropped really badly. Well, there isn't really much else that you need to see on the Hypno. So my first team is a team that actually has Agility Pass with Hidden Power Bug Scyther, and it's, at least that's what I think, and I'll get into why I am not really sure of that. But the idea is that, like, one thing I am certain about is this set on Hypno. So Hypno has Seismic Toss, and most often runs Psychic. Occasionally runs other moves as opposed to Seismic Toss. And really the flavor of your Hypno is going to boil down to what it is you want to do and what the main synergies of your team are. So since I have a Curse Granbull in the back, that is not a Curse Rest and Sleep Talk Granbull. It's kind of slow, and it's really going to have to rely on that initial momentum. So you want to get other Pokemon to be really slow so you can do some wall breaking stuff in Power Ground. Now I really don't know what's actually in the back of my team here, and the reason being is that I got swept, as you saw right here. So yeah, I got swept really early, and there wasn't really much I could do, but it's probably a team like this. One thing I can be pretty certain of is that I didn't have a Slowbro. Otherwise I probably would have used it, and yeah. But as far as Hypno is concerned, I actually ran Seismic Toss and Thunder Wave and Rest and Sleep Talk, so no Stab Psychic move. Possibly. I think. So yeah. Since this one was rather quick, I don't think there's much point in going too deep into the details here. We're just gonna transition to the first game. Now allow me to restart the match so I don't spoil too much. Okay. And here we are. So, with that info in mind, we'll get right into the game. So this game is rather quick, as you already saw. So we have our nice little Hypno lead. And so right off the bat, you see a Girafarig. So Girafarig lead isn't the most common thing out there, especially for Baton Pass teams. Usually you'll see Mr. Mime in the lead position, but Girafarig is pretty is fairly like predictable. That might be one of the other reasons why it's not in the lead position all the time. But I don't know, judging by Siatom and everything, or Siatom, he might actually have taken advantage of the fact that I use Hypno. I don't know. It must have been something like that. He probably did his scouting. And Hypno isn't the best at facing Girafarig, but it does have some pretty neat tricks of its own. Now, if I didn't have Seismic Toss, I would probably just have run away here and switch to something else. The problem is that Girafarig can't really be stopped because it's a Psychic type, and the two Haze users in this tier most commonly are Quillfish and Crobat, both of which fear Psychic, and even Thunder. So yeah, not a great idea to just switch in your Quillfish there. So what options does that leave you with? Well, you can go to Granbull if you feel like you're safe enough to do that, but only if you are, what's it called, a Curse Granbull. Because if this Girafarig clicks Baton Pass and switches to Mr. Mime, then Mr. Mime can use either Substitute or Barrier. So you kind of want to have not only something that initially threatens the Girafarig off the bat, but you also want to be able to set up to contrast its form of setup. And honestly, it just makes your Granbull more and more threatening, and they have to reckon with that force, so yeah. But I go for an early T-Wave, and he reveals to have Miracle Berry, so that's turn 1. Now Girafarig is at +2 speed, so there's no outspeeding it with something else. And at this point I have to decide, right? He could easily just switch to Quagsire, and what happens if he does? Well, then I'd be hard-pressed to click an attack. But it wouldn't be enough to click an attack only when Quagsire is revealed. I would have to attack with Seismic Toss now. Instead, he goes to Politoed. So Politoed also has Miracle Berry, and Politoed also is a Belly Drum user. So the difference with Quagsire being that it's a little bit bulkier, doesn't have Ground Stab, but goes for normal ground coverage and has Lovely Kiss. So yeah, I paralyze this one, and then I start using Seismic Toss. So if I can use Seismic Toss as this Politoed is using Belly Drum right now, as we saw here, now the Politoed is sort of like in a bad spot because it didn't have leftovers, and it was outsped. So I essentially just took down a Politoed for free. So I'm in a pretty good spot here. Now here the cue would be, again, to just weaken this Girafarig or keep spamming Seismic Toss until Siatom is just forced to switch into something that is weak to it. So I click Seismic Toss, but I get greedy, I click T-Wave, and at this point I'm screwed. So it's turn 7 and then turn 8. So turn 8 I managed to deal an extra bit of damage, but it's too late now. The Quagsire not only has leftovers, I believe, but it outspeeds everything on my team and is at max power, so there's nothing I can do, and I forfeit game 1. Alright, now on to game 2. Opening up the window here to view the game 2 team, which is something I feel a little bit more familiar with when compared to the other team. And it's pretty nice. So I like Gyarados. Particularly, I've always been a pretty big fan of mixed attack. Of course it's a mixed attacker, but all-out attacking Gyarados. Just maximizes the options of dealing damage. You have Hydro Pump to 2-hit KO Nidoqueen. You have Thunder to 2-hit KO Quillfish. You have Hidden Power Flying to 2-hit KO Bellossom. So you basically have this perfect coverage. And then Double Edge to sort of just maximize when you want to hit something and you want to just maximize the spread. It's like, okay, you're not sure if he's going to switch into like Electabuzz, which resists HP Flying, or Thunder, or you want to hit Nidoqueen for some decent damage, or Hypno. Double Edge does slightly more to Hypno than HP Flying, so there's that to keep in mind. Yeah, I like this set a lot. It's really awesome. HP Flying doesn't cut into the speed DVs of Gyarados, so that's good. And then a Magneton. So Magneton is just something I've always been pushing a lot. I like it. It's really strong, especially with spikes, which is why there's a Quillfish, as you can see here. And it can pretty much 3-hit KO Nidoqueen, but the 3-hit KOing wouldn't be so much to write home about if it weren't for the fact that you then have a couple of mons that can outspeed Nidoqueen with. I have 3, and then I have another mod that's also a pretty good answer to Nidoqueen. So you can really maximize off of those turns where Nidoqueen might be forced to click Moonlight. Also, Magneton and Gyarados have just great pivoting, great synergy amongst each other. Mag is a good check against Scyther and Granbull, and Gyarados can switch into HP Grounds, so yeah. Or even Earthquakes from Nidoqueen, so that's always something that's cool. And despite what I normally like to use, I actually went for Nidoqueen myself rather than going for Piloswine. And the reason is because I think the team is kind of, if you look at it, the team does look kind of weak, would be otherwise kind of weak to Gyarados. Like, you have Mag, but Mag is very much focused on checking Granbull. Sure, you got, like, Scyther is not really amazing against that, and then Piloswine kind of just invites Gyarados in, and Quillfish isn't amazing either, so yeah. That's the team. Pretty solid. Pretty solid against just about everything. Not to mention Scyther is good for coming in on Psychic types. You can kind of just threaten to set up, and they're usually forced to switch out, at which point you can pass to one of either Nidoqueen or Gyarados and deal lots of damage from boosted +2 attack. So yeah. So with that in mind, I'll try and look into Siatam's team as well as we comment on that too. So we're going to look at this again, and this is game 2. So game 2, I lead off with Hypno, and he leads off with Granbull. Now, Granbull is kind of a funny matchup for Hypno because Hypno isn't really a quote-unquote check, but depending on the set of Granbull, it may just be best to not stay in for Granbull. And you never know when that crit can happen, and then Hypno suddenly be 2-hit KOs Granbull with like +2, Psychic, or just cripples it with T-Wave or whatever. So I actually go for for Psychic instead of switching in immediately to a Granbull check, because that could put me in really at odds against this Electabuzz here. Electabuzz is pretty good against quite a few Granbull checks, so this kind of might be a signal that it's like a Pursuit user. But he doesn't reveal leftovers, which can... Oh, no, sorry, he does. My bad. Never mind. Okay, so I go twice for Psychic, and I'm already in a pretty good spot because I take T-Bolts pretty well, even better than Thunders. I have access to Rest and Sleep Talk. This Electabuzz may or may not, and it also gets a Spadef drop, so staying in isn't too much of an option here. I go for a Seismic Toss, and Siatam reveals Chansey. So at this point, I'm already very, very certain of what this team, of what the style of this team might be. The Chansey is either Heal Bell support, or it's a normal sweeper, because you see double normals. So one could be a Heal Beller, even Granbull could be the Heal Beller, or it could just be a Wall Breaker and then Chansey's the sweeper, or whatever. So one way or another, Chansey can be pretty predictable. So and easily exploitable, especially with my Nidoqueen and Magneton. Magneton can sit on it, so yeah. So I switch, and I go to Quillfish early. Reason being, I actually have some notes on my match with Siatom on this particular game. Note, me versus Siatom, you game number 2. So, well, it looks like I can't really find it, so that's too bad. Yeah, well, no biggie. So let me try and think about this real quick, because it's kind of hard without seeing the builder. But what is the reason? What is my reason? So my reason... Okay, so my reason for going to Quillfish and not to Magneton is because I want to keep Magneton as my Granbull check. Okay. I know for a fact that Quillfish can deal some pretty nice damage to Chansey early on. And if we have a nice look, if we have a look at the damage calculator, damage calc here, the Chansey is kind of weak at the start. So see, this is the damage it deals to Quillfish at neutral. So it's a possible 7-hit KO. And it already adds up very quickly after +1. From 7-hit KO, it skips to a chance to 3-hit. That's something doesn't. Oh no, that's not it. That's sorry. No, a 0.2 chance to 4-hit KO. So that's you know, it's basically a 5-hit KO. It's not really threatening. It only reaches 3-hit KO, like maybe at +2. So and Quillfish has like haze to cancel out the stuff. At least that means the first turn I can just click spikes. And even if I get T-bolted, that's just a signal to switch out to like Nidoqueen or something. So he reveals to have double edge. I click haze, so now his double edges are even weaker. And I can start damaging the Chansey while he goes for curse or things like that. So he switches into Quillfish. He wants to get his own spikes, which makes sense. And I go back to Hypno. Now we saw curse, and so I'm pretty much aware of this, and I want to be a little bit. I want to stay ahead of the momentum because I have Magneton, but Magneton has a really hard time handling Chansey. The physical attackers can take a little bit too much time at responding to Chansey if they don't come in immediately because of curse. And special attackers are just out of the question. So I go straight to Nidoqueen, switching out from the Quillfish. If we go back to that segment there, it's Quillfish on Quillfish. Then I go to Hypno as he spikes, and I lure in the Chansey, and I go straight to Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is also pretty threatening against this whole team here, and the Quillfish probably isn't staying in. So I go to Nido, and now I can go for like 30-40% with Earthquake. I go for the Earthquake, I think. No, I go for Thunder on the off chance that, I don't know, he wants to act cute. Unfortunately, it misses. And he goes for Body Slam. So Scyther's actually really scary. So this, again, this pretty much seals the deal here. So at this point, you have a team that's like, okay, Granbull is definitely a HP ground user because of Pinsir and of Chansey. Granbull has to do the wall breaking. Either that or it's a Heal Bell support, but that's not very likely considering the frail structure of the team. I'm not a huge fan, but I just happened to build an almost identical team to this one. So I land my Fire Blast, and I'm really afraid of Body Slam Pinsir because it can paralyze Nidoqueen, and then suddenly I get overrun by Chansey if I'm not careful. So yeah, I stay in one turn for the Fire Blast damage, and then I switch to Magneton. Now my reason for this is because I think that if he goes for a para, and he gets it on Magneton, then I can probably I can probably find another opportunity maybe to rest, or maybe I'm just being stupid. I don't know. That could have also been the case. I have a Gyarados which checks Pinsir, so there's that to keep in mind. Now, I'm very much cognizant of the fact that this Granbull can KO me, but it's Magneton, so even if I'm weak to HP ground, he doesn't OHKO me unless he's at like +1, I think. I'm not really sure. So I go for a T-Bolt here, and so I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, well, again, Gyara's in the back, so I'm safe, but this Granbull can be pretty threatening. So I don't think there's much I can do if I just rest. So I'm gonna actually just sacrifice my Magneton, and we'll see what happens from there, because I can obviously revenge kill the Granbull. So I go for T-Bolt, and Sietam mispredicts, and he goes for a Lovely Kiss on what is very likely a Sleep Talk Magneton. I show you guys that it is, but from his perspective, it might not be that obvious. So that's kind of unfortunate, and it's huge for me. So again, this is Lovely Kiss and Hidden Power Ground, so the chances of this being rest are extremely low. At this point, it's probably better if I just continue to stay in and threaten this Granbull. So I get a Sleep Talk and I get rest. And then he goes for return, so a second mispredict there. And at this point, I'm like, okay, he's probably going to go for Hidden Power Ground now, so I switch to Gyara. So really good sequence for me. I can go for the Double Edge there, and I KO his Electabuzz, so that's huge. That means it's less weight for Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen doesn't have to check electrics anymore. I can kind of just throw it in against whatever threat he has. Magneton switches in on a Sludge Bomb from Quill. Now the Magneton isn't super important anymore. I go back to Gyara knowing that, like, predicting. This was my thought process. I'm like, okay, well, it's a special attacker, right? So chances are he's going to go to Chansey. He's going to take his chances. So I go to Gyara, which is the next best physical attacker I got, and I think it might have fewer switch-ins in this matchup. I go for a Double Edge on the Chansey, and it's kind of scary here. So I want to force it to do something which benefits me. I end up critting the Chansey, so that sucks, and he ends up forfeiting. So this has been a pretty long commentary so far, but I assure you that that I'll try and be a little bit less overzealous with my commentary. I just was really enthusiastic about this game. So we are even. I was down a game, and now we are even. So 1-1. And here's my third team. In case you haven't noticed, I really like Hypno. So there's this team that I built with Diofantine, and this was actually for the GSC UU Cup. So this game in particular, I think the screens, I can't remember to what extent the screens actually came handy, but I ended up using this team throughout the tournament. So the idea is that you have dual screens, something that isn't too seen in Gen 2, and you enable physical attackers that kind of just hit things randomly. So I have Dodrio here for that purpose. Granbull could be pretty good as well, like a curse set, but I prefer Dodrio just for speed control. Then I have a Lovely Kiss Nidoqueen, again no Pylo, despite my usual preference for it, and a Reflect Blossom. So I have one Nidoqueen check, one water check for things like Slowbro and Slowking, which are kind of a hassle for this team. And then I have dual screens. So these two kind of help each other out by allowing you to switch from one to the other and then stuff like that. So, so yeah. And I have Destiny Bond and Explosion on Haunter. because I've had very little success with Destiny Bond so far. And yeah, alright, so switching sides here and going back to our close-up window. This is game 3. The winner of this moves on to round 2. So, yeah, I sort of spoiled that I won this, but I mean, if you had already seen my set against Holly, then you know that I won this tournament. So, for Ruins of Alpha Olympics, I think that Siatom was representing South, US South, and I'm representing Canada. So yeah. Anyways, I have a light screen lead versus T-Wave Slowking. So I go for my light screens just because it helps stall against Slowking, and this is a good cue, I suppose. I was hoping that he wouldn't have spammed the T-Wave there, but he does, so that's kind of unfortunate that he gets the T-Wave on Blossom. But I'm just going to attempt to set up both screens. Not really sure why, but I do it. So, no, never mind, I lied. I go for Stun Spore first, and he reveals to have a second curse, atypical curse sweeper. So it's not a Granbull, it is a Hypno. So this is very controversial because Hypno is weird. So really specially bulky, resists Psychic, so that's one of the best special attacking moves in this tier, and can be kind of unpredictable. So yeah, it's hard for the typical Pokemon that check Granbull, such as Omastar, Magneton, and Haunter, to check Hypno as well. Reason being, it's specially bulky, right? Haunter is immune to normal moves, and what I haven't mentioned so far is that Hypno uses Curse, Body Slam, Rest, and Sleep Talk, so no other physical attacking move if it's a Sleep Talk set. If it's not a Sleep Talk set, then it would have either Shadow Ball or Psychic. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Magneton, if I had Magneton, I would probably be screwed here. But thankfully I have Haunter this matchup, so I go right to it, and I Scout. So in case it's like Shadow Ball, I can Scout. Unfortunately I'm behind a Reflect, so I don't know if that would have worked. It might have been better to just attack. He brings in Nido, and I go to my Hypno, which eats Earthquakes every day, especially behind a Reflect. And the Para is going to help me for saving PP, but it could also put me in a bad spot, so I got to be careful there. I go for Light Screen. What else can I say about this particular turn? So in this turn, it could be, it could have been a turn to go to his Scyther if he had one, but he doesn't, so yeah, I'm not sure what he's thinking here. I mean, I think he didn't have it, but yeah, that would be something to keep in mind at the very least. Because I'm para'd, chances are I'm either gonna like click Light Screen, probably not gonna click Psychic, or I'm gonna rest, or I'm gonna switch out or something. So it could be a good cue to go to Scyther, I don't know. So yeah, if you want to take the risk. Obviously, I haven't revealed any other moves, so I could even be T-Wave, but that would be weird. So I click Rest finally, and I'm just sitting on these Surfs, trying not to attack, so as to force him into a situation where he has to kind of just waste his moves. I'm going to Blossom on a predicted T-Wave there, or a Surf, doesn't really matter. I go for Reflect, and Hypno comes in, so I go to my Haunter, and I'm going to switch right out. I don't want it to get paralyzed or weakened by Surf. Those are all both bad for me, especially since there's this Hypno. So I go again to Haunter. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. As you can see here, Quillfish comes in. I'm going to get my spikes later than Siatom, but basically having a Quillfish is like a concession. And so this is a turn I wanted to reveal here. So he finally reveals his own Haunter. So his team isn't all too different from mine. We both have a Nidoqueen and a Hypno, and then something that's either Slowbro or Blossom and spikes. So yeah, and so I was facing the Haunter with my Quillfish, and this Haunter is looking very threatening because I have I don't want these two Pokemon, right? I don't want Hypno and Blossom to get exploded on, and losing Nidoqueen would be like losing a win condition, as would losing Dodrio. So it's a very scary situation here because he hasn't even revealed anything yet. So I decide to stay in with the aim of setting up a Reflect or clicking Stun Spore. If I click Stun Spore, I cripple the Haunter. This is on the following turn, actually. So, yeah. But I fully para as he switches out. So, yeah. He revealed that Shadow Ball. Now, Shadow Ball is actually going to prove to be super helpful in this matchup. Normally, you'll see Haunters that are more similar to mine. So, it'll have, you know, one in either Explosion or Destiny Bond, then Psychic and Thunder, and then another move, which could be like Hypnosis or Thief, normally. But there's no rule against using Shadow Ball. It's just considered to be bad. But Seatom actually proves that it's super helpful, and he gets a nice crit on Blossom, and it's also pretty threatening for my Hypno and my Haunter itself. So it's very spammable, and it can get those Spadef drops too. So even though it's a physical move. So I get a Psychic, and I managed to hit the Nidoqueen. It might have been a misprediction. He could have easily gone to Hypno, but that would have been weird. Or Slowking. So he ends up losing Nidoqueen, which is rather fortunate for me. I'm going to switch out, so I go, and of course he clicks Shadow Ball, because why wouldn't he? That's such a good move to click in that situation. Look at that. Look at that, 44%. That's a strong 3-hit KO. With spikes in the right conditions, that scratches, just doesn't really reach it, but it scratches the surface of a 2-hit KO. So I'm screwed, I think to myself. Like, what do? I have to switch into Blossom, and it's weakened, and there's spikes, and so much can go wrong with this turn. So I do that, and blam, crit, and oh no, I'm screwed. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I better act fast. He might click Shadow Ball again, so I'm going to switch into my normal type. Nope, he clicks Psychic, and he gets another crit, and I'm like, oh, damn it. This is so bad for me right now. So I click Drill Peck, and he goes for Thunder, which he fortunately misses. The game might have just ended there. He would have taken out at least 1-2 other Pokemon with just thanks to Haunter. And I still don't know what he has in the back. So I go for 2 Drill Pecks there, deal some nice damage to that Haunter. And this is, mind you, our tournament match. It's single elimination. It's not double elimination. So if we lose, we're out. So Hydro Pump also misses from the Quillfish. And I got super bailed there. 2 misses. I'm going to take it right to the bank. I sacrifice the Blossom to Spikes. That way I can kind of rest with Hypno and save it as my only check to Haunter here, or whatever else. I really needed that, and there was no switching in, so the spikes were super helpful actually. But I'm gonna kind of just stay in here, hope for things to go my way. I'm gonna keep clicking Sleep Talk, I suppose. At this situation now, Seatom is in a much worse spot. He can't freely switch around, so I'm gonna go to my own Haunter here. I have already revealed Destiny Bond, so there's no reason to believe I'd have Boom. At which point he's gonna force the hand a little, right? So he's gonna start applying pressure and hope that I run out of PP or something. Hypno's super bulky and can take it. So my first Thunder misses. I scout just in case he has like Shadow Ball. But no, he's starting to stack up, and things are getting more and more threatening as time goes on. I'm going to start attacking, and he's going to just spam Body Slam. So, yeah, I start to feel more and more confident that it is in fact a body slam sleep talk. I think I had the scouter, and I found that there was no trace of a shadow ball hypno on his team. Plus, it would be kind of weird to have two shadow ball users, but again, I'm playing it safe. I used 3 Destiny Bonds. I just want to be sure, you know, so I try to see. But I see rest, so unless he has a sleep talk, I don't know what to think. But I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to keep dealing damage with Thunder there. And he's going to just spam Body Slam, kind of just getting on my nerves. And I get some more damage. I get a nice para. I'm going to hope for the best here and go for another Thunder. Maybe he fully paras. We'll see. And then I boom. So it's usually unexpected. And thankfully he didn't use Curse more. Otherwise I might have just been screwed. But yeah, the explosion was just enough to take it out at 34%. Mind you, in Generation 2, explosion halves the defenses of other Pokemon. So yeah. So I bring in Dodrio at this point. So now I'm in a really good spot. And I'm going to try and kind of break through this team. I don't want to force the hand just yet with my Dodrio, because Dodrio is like, if it gets paralyzed, it kind of just becomes useless. So I want to be sure that I don't have to end up in this situation here. So I'd rather stall, wait for him to do something with his other 2 Pokemon. He has 1 unrevealed, I have 1 unrevealed. So I'm going to kind of speed up this segment a little more. So I'm just spamming light screens. As he brings in Politoed, he's going to take advantage of that paralysis to go for a belly drum sweep, which is super scary. I'm like, oh, damn it. It's probably better if it were belly drum than growth, though. So I kind of just switch into Quillfish. I don't really need it, as long as I have Dodrio. Now, I didn't show you all the moves, but I technically have Whirlwind, and this is his only win condition. Now, if I'm a dummy, I guess I could click Whirlwind and then he could attack me and then I'll feel stupid. But I did still technically have Nidoqueen, so I could even have clicked it here and maybe phased something in. Because he's probably gonna switch in to Slowking or let the Toad die, so yeah. So whatever, I just go for Jolpeck just because I want to be sure that I take out the Haunter, but he doesn't do that, so I'm going to go straight back to Hip. And Politoed is technically able to survive coming in with spikes, so I can't just use Rest, otherwise I'm going to be in this weird spot where he's going to set up again or something. But of course he'd have to recover all his HP, so it's not very likely. But yeah, so his Slowking is spamming, I'm spamming, we're all spamming. Keep spamming, there we go. I'm lowering, so I lowered his special defense 3 times, so at a certain point I could probably come in with Nidoqueen here and threaten a 2-hit KO with Thunder. I'm going to put my spikes up, and I go to Nido, and now I've lowered his special defense 4 times, so it's probably in Oko range. Now anything dies. Luckily I hit the hit Poly. Doesn't really seem like big damage, I guess, 2%, lol. But yeah, so I'm going to go straight back. I have only 5 Psychics left, so I can't really spam too freely. I'm just going to have to like wait a bit, stall out as he does things. And yeah, I feel pretty confident at this point that my Dodrio and Nidoqueen together can probably take out Slowking. The question is how am I going to take out Haunter, right? So Haunter booms, and at this point it's really tough for Slowking. I'm just going to sack this, and the idea is that since I have Lovely Kiss on Nidoqueen, I don't necessarily need to take chances with Hypno. Here's the idea. I'm going to put it to sleep. This is going to increase chances for me to take out the Slowking and have it use some weird rest talk rolls. So that's what I do. I go for Lovely Kiss, and mind you, he's going to recover his leftovers on this turn here, meaning on the following turn he can just end up using Sleep Talk and getting rest. And T-Wave doesn't do anything to Nidoqueen, so I can keep going for some damage there until eventually I manage to get a crit and take out the Slowking. So rather unfortunate turn of events, I'd say, near the ending, but I think it evened it out. Anyways, that's round one. So yeah, took me a freaking long time to comment on this matchup, but it was pretty fun, and I will be covering at least the next two rounds. If I see interest, I may consider actually having a deeper look into the finals game, maybe with a guest. I don't know, but I already uploaded a video on the finals match, so I don't really see the purpose. So that's round one, and I hope you guys enjoy. GG's, and I love you very, very much.